Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning, and we're live. We're coming to you live from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. It's Podup with Matthews in the morning. And we got JC. We'll recap the weekend. We'll also have Seth Harp take over when I got to get out of here. But a good weekend for Gator baseball. They take 2 or 3 from the Miami Hurricanes, and Gator basketball ends the season. They go 9-9 in the conference, which is better than a team that's on the bubble, Mississippi State. And that's who they play on Thursday. So let's go to the Titan Number Hotline, and we're joined by JC. Good morning. How are you?
I love it, dude. I'm great, man. It really was. You mentioned baseball. Well, I'm on board big time. I finally got to watch what I was hoping I would see. And all I saw were balls flying out of the yard. I saw pitchers that were aggressive going after hitters. I saw just a team that I can really get around, wrap myself around. I mean, baseballs were flying out. They're 10-3. They're ranked 6th. They had 22,830 people in the ballpark, biggest crowd ever, set a record for attendance. They have won 8 out of 9 regular season series versus Miami. They run ruled them yesterday. They had 4 runs in both the first and second inning. They had, the largest win over Miami in since 1998. So that would be, you can figure out how many years that is. And in 1998, they won 19-5. So this is the largest win over Miami since then. We had 2 guys with 3 hits, Curlin and Riopelle. We had 4 home runs yesterday from Langford, Rivera, Evans, and Riopelle. It is just a great weekend for Gator baseball, in spite of what happened in Game 2. It was very entertaining, and I think the people here and the crowds were emblematic of the momentum that maybe this team has as the 6th team in the country, and probably higher than that after this weekend.
Who's ranked number 1 right now?
I don't know, and I just know that Florida's 6th, but they'll probably be higher after what they did to Miami. I mean, they trashed Miami, and Miami is a pretty good team. They've got players, and they showed that in the second game of the series. But Florida can hit the ball. They go after every pitch that they think they can hit out of the yard. It's really fun to watch them offensively. They've got very solid pitching, at least what I saw this weekend, But Langford is my favorite player. I think Josh Rivera is excellent. Evans, they're just very aggressive up there at the plate. I love that, and I like the way the pitchers go after hitters. So with all that having been said, it's early, I get it, but it was a very, very good weekend for Gator baseball. And again, 23,000 fans over the 3 days is a record for the school. So that's fun.
All right. Yeah. Well, we have an anonymous text.
I'm on board, baby. I'm on board with Gator baseball. Finally.
The anonymous text here on the Titan MR text line. And, if I don't delete the text, it kind of shows you everything else that they had texted over the year. This dude is somewhat negative because he was blasting. I just really looking at some of his old texts, blasting Billy Napier. But anyway, he says, Gator baseball is the same as last year. Won't get out of the regional again this year.
I would be willing to bet him right now. I don't care what day. What is it, March the 5th? I will bet whoever that guy is, if Florida goes to the Super Regional. Put me down for whoever that is for the Super Regional, and they'll host it here. I know I'm maybe overreacting a little bit, and I know the SEC is tremendous, but the way these guys – I know a little bit about – I mean, I'm not – baseball is probably one of the – well, I played it. But the thing I like about it, this team, is how aggressive they are at the plate, and how their pitchers try to strike you out on every pitch, or get you out on every pitch. And don't
that's what most pitchers try to do, JC.
Some pitchers try to nitpick on corners. These guys just go after you. They're aggressive. There's a different style of pitching that I've noticed with this group, at least what I saw this weekend. Now, I have to admittedly, this is the only time I've seriously watched them play, because it was really the only team they were playing that I was interested in. But QB, dude, I know you didn't get to see any of it, but the way they hit the ball out of the ballpark is fun to watch. And I think you can get on board with these guys. When you get back from your XFL, you will be excited to go out to the ballpark. Promise.
Yes. Speaking of that, on the Titan our text line, Daryl says, "Good morning. Took my grandson and some of his baseball teammates over there yesterday, and the ball was flying out of the park."
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch. I mean,
was it due to the humidity, JC, making the ball carry?
No, it was due to the guys like Wyatt Langford who can hit it out of anywhere. And I think it wasn't just yesterday. In game one, they did the same thing. And Miami did it in game two. Now, it might be a hitter's friendly park. Okay, I'll give you that. But I don't care. Those balls were going out of most anywhere. They would have gone out of the MAC last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever. They were going out of this park, and they probably would have gone out of any SEC ballpark. So I don't know. I don't think it could have gone – well, it could have gone better, but not much better for the Florida baseball team. I'm very happy with what I saw.
We got some Facebook lives here. Andy says LSU's ranked number 1 in America.
Yeah, that's right.
Cliff says whoever that the anonymous texter, he said he's a dumbass.
Yeah, he is.
Tony says baseball with JC. That needs a sponsor.
I think it does, baby. That was great. Pujols Bobcat, third baseman, utility infielder, and relief pitcher.
But they painted over your number in the gym, by the way.
I know. I mean, the nerve. But I do know a little something about baseball, and this is what I see out of these guys is fun. And it's fun, and when winning is fun, but when they play, they look like they're having fun. And that's what you need. You don't need a team that stresses out there defensively, that worries about kicking the ball around. They know what they're doing offensively. So with a guy like Langford, you are a threat to score a lot of runs because the guys in front of him and behind him are made better because they have to pitch to those guys so that they don't put people on base with Langford at the plate. That's huge. And I think Florida is benefiting from that. And I think Kevin's feeling pretty good about his team right now.
Tony says the bullpen needs to just stop walking, hitting batters, and they'll be fine. I agree. Greg has a question here. Shane, what's up with the QB from the Guardians allegedly giving plays to the other team? Would love to hear JC thoughts on it. I honestly don't know a whole lot about it. That's the truth. So it's a league matter. They're dealing with it. I didn't even know we cut the guy till I woke up the next morning. So I just try to coach my quarterbacks as hard as I can. So that's what happened. All right, JC. Before we move forward, are you in the market to buy or sell your home, JC?
One day.
Well, Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, Emma Parish, will provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. All right, great weekend for baseball. Softball did their thing against UAB. Tim got to see his boy Brooks pitch. It was all a setup. I told you, JC. Remember I talked about it? It was a good for Tim. So let's move to basketball. Gators win on senior day, what have you, against LSU. They end up going 9-9 in the conference. Mississippi State is freaking 8-10, and that's who they're going to play Thursday at noon, I believe, or maybe 1 o'clock Eastern time.
They also have beaten Mississippi State this season on the road in Starkville. I think what Mississippi State benefits from those are a win against Marquette earlier in the year and some other ones. But listen, I mean, the problem for both of these teams is that they're going to play Alabama if they win this first game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obviously for the Gators to make the tournament, they have to win the SEC tournament. We all know that. But Mississippi State, I've seen they're like the last 4 in, last 4 out, whatever. Yeah. So it's a big week for them. But I always love the SEC tournament. Cranks up on Wednesday. You got 2 games and then 4 on Thursday, 4 on Friday. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, Caglion already has more home runs than JC has friends. Everybody's picking on you today, JC.
I don't know why. I don't know what I did, but I don't care. It's fine. I can take it. I think I don't think he's serious. I think, look, I mean, I don't know what else more to say. I mean, these guys, this is the worst beatdown of Miami since 1998. And they have won 8 out of the last 9 regular season series against the U. And they run ruled them, dude. That's what we used to do at the Northwest Boys Club to, some of these teams.
Lodge team?
yeah, just blow them out, man. Just get them out of the way. Evans, Riopel, Rivera, Langford, everybody knocking the ball all over the place. I just can't imagine it going any better, other than maybe sweeping the team. But they're not a bad team. That's the thing. Miami's a pretty good damn team. And so that's why it means something to me. It doesn't matter to me if you sweep Cincinnati, even though you have to do that. What matters to me is what you do against comparable competition. And it wasn't comparable. Florida just dominated these guys. Yeah. And you can tell by how they feel by reading their Twitter handle and how all pissed off everybody in South Florida is about their team, thinking, oh, wow, these guys can't handle Florida. And, then all the Gator fans troll them. So anyway, it's great. But as far as basketball goes, listen, it's not going to be a bad deal if they roll into the NIT, play another home game here, get 6,000 more fans over there to watch them play, somebody out of nowhere and see if they can, finish strong. And I mean, that's what else you want out of these guys. The expectation level we know wasn't that high. So at least it wasn't.
That is true. That is true. Okay. So Andy says everybody loves you. Joseph said he's your biggest fan. Andy also says you're starting to wear Gator gear. Nice to see him pushing the product. That avoid JC. Good job.
Yeah.
Text on the Titan of our text line from Chris in Cottondale. Have you heard anything about the first spring practice? I heard it ran smooth, feel like the buy-in is much better, et cetera. Have you heard any specifics about practice? Chris, I have not. I will get you some information and fill you guys in on tomorrow or Wednesday's program. They practiced, I think the first day was Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So not a whole lot from that. Okay, I was waiting I got a million of these texts and we're going to get to it. This is Chris from Mayaca. Do we remember where Mayaca is?
Yeah, no, it's down somewhere in Central Florida.
Yeah. Shane was right. AR is enamoring everyone at the combine, and he would go top 5 because of it. All right, so we have a ton of text on the Titan MR text line about AR at the combine. But I've been telling people, and I think anybody that knows how the combine works knew that he would tear it up, set records, all that stuff. And I'm pulling for him. I hope he has a tremendous long NFL career. He's a great kid. However, not a damn thing you do at the combine has anything to do with playing football or playing quarterback. It's all the stuff that people get enamored with. So what are your thoughts on that, JC?
Well, my thoughts were the crowd was enamored with his 61-yard pass, when he got to drop back, stand there by himself with nobody coming at him, and toss one set 65 yards downfield. That was cool to watch. Listen, if he wants to try out for the U.S. Olympic team, he would find a spot somewhere. Okay,
he'd be good at pushing the bobsledder. Didn't Herschel Walker and those guys do like the bobsledding?
Yes, they did. But if he wants, the high jump, the 40-yard dash, whatever it is, he could try out and probably make some position on the U.S. Olympic team, Summer Olympics. What I get concerned about when I watch quarterbacks play is two things. Can you get the ball in the end zone, and can you help your team win games? It doesn't get more simple than that for me. I think Bill Parcells said that, actually. So the thing is that his accuracy, I think he threw in 3 years, QB, he threw something like 350 to 400 passes total. In 1 year, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud threw that many passes. So, we have to see how he can compete throwing the ball with accuracy and with good timing and being precise, maybe in the pocket sometimes, and not running around. So those are the things that I value, and getting the ball in the end zone is the biggest priority for me as a quarterback and helping your team win games. And that's the one thing I don't think we've seen enough of from him. Now, maybe the Falcons draft him. All of a sudden, he and Kyle Pitts turn into the greatest combination in the NFC South, and they shock the world and go 12-4 or 12-5. But I'm betting the under on that.
Yeah, Jesse says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law, I think if he switches to tight end, he would be a monster. What do I think? I think everybody thinks that because of his measurables and the things that he's done and how athletic he is. But it's not the easiest thing. I know guys have done it. We'll see. Look, I don't know who's going to take him. It all comes down to, can he process information very, very quickly in that league because things happen fast in the Southeastern Conference. But in professional football, they happen extremely fast. And your windows go from here to there throwing the football. So that's the biggest thing. And, tearing up the interview process. I think I said, I don't know if it was on you last week, whatever. Coach Spur used to make fun of all these coaches that people say, oh, he's a great interview. Then he could never win games. So I'm pulling for Anthony. People always say he needs to go to the right school. I mean, the right team with the right coach.
Atlanta.
And sometimes you can only do so much as a coach. People talk about developing players. Sometimes they have reached their potential in their development. And you can sit there and get on the grease board or chalkboard and watch tape all you want and explain how it's supposed to work. But you have that split second to make that decision and know where to go with it and throw it accurately. That's why there's only 32 dudes that play doing that. And some of them aren't that good. It's hard to find great ones.
Yeah, I think what people saw from Jalen Hurts surprised them to the extent that he was able to do things that you just described, because we hadn't seen that, except at maybe Oklahoma. But then again, playing for Lincoln Riley, was he a product of the system of Lincoln Riley, or was it really he was that good and he was improving? He worked very hard. And I think that's what folks are saying, is that maybe Anthony Richardson can turn into some sort of Jalen Hurts project.
Well, that's true, but you've made that argument, and I do agree with it. But Jalen played for his dad. Jalen's been around football and is sitting at the dinner table. He's seen X's and O's drawn up. So when you grow up with it, it's a little bit different. So Greg says here on Facebook Live, for me, it's a wait and see with AR. Guy played lights out game one. After that, he was never the same player. And then another Greg says on Facebook Live, AR would hurt his knee, hamstring, or ankle in the first game at tight end. So we'll see. But yeah, it's great for him. The draft is April what, JC?
Yeah, it's in the end of April. But again, QB, I just go back. He threw 400. He had 400 passing attempts, as maybe 400 in 3 years. We just didn't get enough. And maybe it was a function of this or a function of that, whatever.
But again, as I've said many times, even though he only had that many passing attempts, he had X amount of passing attempts in high school, and it all kind of flowed together. It's all the same. Yeah. So we'll see. We're pulling for him. Anything else stand out for you from the combine?
I think at the combine, no, not particularly. I'm curious what the Bears are going to do, if they're going to trade those picks or keep their top pick, because that's all going to be either a validation or an indictment on Justin Fields. So that to me is interesting. I think the idea that Bryce Young, his measurables aren't good enough, I think was disproven somewhat, and I think he'll be either the next or the third quarterback taken, the second or third quarterback taken. I'm not sure he'll be the first, but maybe he will. I don't know who. It just depends on what these teams want. But I tell you what, QB, the golf tournament down in Bay Hill in Orlando, where you and I once again picked golfers that were very likely to win, had a great chance to win, which is kind of amazing when you think about how good our Peachland Dental picks are. When you look at the field of these golf tournaments, we're right up there, and I'm not just tooting our own horn. It's a fact. But the thing is that tournament played like a major yesterday. It had the intrigue and excitement of what you would hope for in a major. You had the rough that was cut high that was killing these guys. I saw Rory McIlroy shank a ball. I saw Kurt Katayama, who won the tournament first ever in 31
coached by former Gator coach J.C. Deacon. You coached him in college
at Vegas. He hit a ball. OB made a triple bogey in the final round and pulled himself together to win the thing with an incredible birdie on number 17, which is probably playing the hardest as a par 3 on tour. Paul Azinger said that the course at Bay Hill was the hardest course played last year on tour. So the way they've done it, I think, is a lot more punitive than when Arnie was living. It was easier back then. Nowadays, it was hard for these guys. The greens were very fast. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch these guys struggle and miss these easy little putts because of how slick things were. And I think Katayama should deserve a lot of credit for hanging in there, two-putting that last green. He had a 55-foot lag putt. He needed the two-putt, and he was short by an inch and marked the ball, QB. Now, you know me, with the way my hands shake, if I had gone up there and tried to mark the ball that was literally about to drop in, I might have knocked it in and lost. I mean, he put a quarter down there, picked up the ball. Hovland finished. He put the ball back down and tapped it in for the one-stroke win, and it's because he birdied 17. It was incredible. Scheffler was great. It was just a really fun tournament to watch.
I saw something on Twitter last night. I don't know if it was, you can't believe everything you read on Twitter, but did Hovland and Kitayama get into it?
I don't know if they got into it, but they played together on the last day, and I didn't see any controversy or anything like that.
It was some picture of Kitayama and Victor Hovland kind of talking, and it was something about, if you ever talk in my backswing again, blah, blah. So I don't know if it was true or not. Well, I don't see Victor Hovland doing that. They say he's one of the nicest guys in the world.
Yeah, no. He is, and he's a tremendous talent, but he had some really difficult holes yesterday that cost him tournament. Spieth missed putts that he never misses that cost him the tournament. He played great yesterday on the front nine, but really fell apart on the back. Rory was Rory. He played great. It was fun to watch, and I wish you could have seen it, but you were busy getting ready for your game with Arlington. And, QB, I don't know, but every Monday I want to give you my power ratings, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Okay, you ready?
Well, I told you Arlington wasn't very good.
Well, yeah, they're what are they? 2-1 now, something like that.
Yeah, but they've scored like 3 defensive. They've been a fortunate football team. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, listen, I get it, and that's why they're lower in my power ratings. I got Houston 1. I've got DC 2. That game with yesterday between San Antonio and DC was St. Louis and DC was tremendous. They had 17,000 fans. They had the beer snakes going all over the place. Fans were into it. They even had a scuffle at the end of the game. One player for St. Louis picked up a defender helmet. Okay, then 4. You got to love Ben DiNucci and Josh Gordon, a new hot combination at Seattle Sea Dragons. Ben DiNucci, a former practice squad player for the Cowboys, had 4 touchdown passes. I liked what I saw out of Seattle. San Antonio is 5. I love the receivers, Vasher and Mack. I got them at 5. They played Houston very tough last night. Houston had a goal line stand that kept San Antonio from tying the game. Arlington, I got at 6. I've got Vegas at 7 with Brett Hundley and you guys at 8. So, we're waiting on seeing you guys break out and score some points.
Well, we had our chance yesterday. We had 2 fumbles in the red zone that cost us the game. Do you realize Seattle won on the last play of the game, JC?
Yeah, but I mean, their numbers offensively were tremendous. Seattle's played the most dramatic games. They've had these close games, 2 losses at the last play, and then yesterday, as you said. But they're fun to watch. The Brahmas are pretty good. I like the Brahmas receivers. I'm not impressed with either Arlington or Vegas. Hundley's going to be okay with Vegas. They played hard yesterday, but clearly I think it's 2 teams. It's DC and it's Houston in the XFL at this point right now after week 3.
Yeah, and St. Louis will probably have about 50,000 fans. They haven't played a home game yet. Their first home game is this week. So, all right, JC, before we get out of here real quick, we got TPC this weekend. We'll do our Peach and Dental picks on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But, they just had the best field they've ever had at Bay Hill for Arnold's place.
It was.
The TPC is usually the best field in golf. I don't know who all's playing. I'm sure everybody's playing.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted, if the wind does not blow there, they tear this place up.
It's dead.
And I've never understood why they wouldn't grow the rough up. I hope they did. You got any insight on the rough?
Well, I can tell you the weather's going to be warm and the greens are going to be fast. But as far as the rough goes, I mean, that's really the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, with Bay Hill, it was about the rough and the greens. And it can be the same way at TPC if they want to make it fun. But the players have a lot of say in how the course is dialed up. And so we'll see what they want to do. But, I think these tournaments back-to-back in the state of Florida really give golf fans here a lot to look forward to and a lot to watch. And it's fun to see these tournaments back-to-back like it used to be. And it's good that, we're going to see a great field in Jacksonville following a great field in Orlando. I mean, it's just great. And, QB, listen, I think, I think we are picking these golfers. It's almost magic how good our picks have been, at least with 2 out of our 3 golfers. We don't usually have 3 guys that are completely out of it. So we're doing something right, QB. I don't know what it is.
Yep, very true. All right, JC, we got to get out of here and turn it over to Seth Harp. Have a great day. That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline at Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Going to take a timeout, come back. You'll be joined by Seth Harp. You're watching and listening to Podup Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Seth Harp on Sports with you here on the second half of Podup with Matthews in the morning. Of course, JC been around from the first segment. He's going to carry over into this segment as we finish and weave our way through this Monday. Quick reminder, JC and myself, courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline with you here on this Monday. Also, if you have any comments, questions, feel free, courtesy of Meldon Law. Facebook Live, you can fire off questions there. Remember, Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Okay, JC, good to talk with you and chat with you again.
Yeah, buddy.
Wanted to start off with this because I think this is going to become a bigger and bigger story as the week progresses here. Ross Dellinger, Sports Illustrated, they have gone through and they have an idea. It's not been official yet or named official yet, but the SEC going to a 9-game schedule. In order to make that work, it would consist of every team, once we get to 16, having 3 permanent opponents every single year, and then rotating 6 out every other year. What does that mean? That means 3 plus 6 gets you 9. Those would be home and aways, and then you'd cycle through. So what would that mean? That mean if you stayed till your senior year, you would play every team in the SEC home and away, and there would be 3 SEC teams that you'd play home and away twice. But the key to that is finding 3 permanent opponents. Well, according to Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated, and there's a Nick Saban carrot in this too, JC, because he's not happy with his teams. They've laid out what the blueprint would look like to balance everything out. And who do you want to hear first? What team do you want to hear first?
Well, I want folks to guess what Florida's 3 teams are, because I think we all know one of them obviously is Georgia, right? It will always be Georgia. The other 2, I think one should be somewhat expected, but then the third team is somewhat surprising to me. So you want me to tell you what they are, or you want to tell them? Seth, go ahead.
I will. Well, I've got this, so I'll let you do it. What we know, one is Georgia. One is going to be Georgia. One of the other ones is
South Carolina.
South Carolina is a permanent opponent. So think about this, Gator fans. Take a step back. You're still going to get to play everybody. If you're a senior, you're going to get to play everybody twice if you go the whole way through. But LSU is no longer a permanent opponent.
That's right.
Vanderbilt is no longer a permanent opponent. Tennessee is no longer a permanent opponent. Kentucky is no longer a permanent opponent. Missouri is no longer a permanent opponent. According to Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated Florida, with a 9-game schedules, 3 permanent opponents are going to be Georgia, South Carolina, and Oklahoma.
How cool would that be, man? Let's go to Norman, Oklahoma. And I'm into that. I think it's great. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of folks could have made the argument that Auburn would be, since just simply geographically speaking, and I know geography does play into this somewhat. Geographically speaking, does everybody know that Auburn is closer to Gainesville than any other SEC school geographically as the crow flies? But Auburn is not that team. So I think Oklahoma, South Carolina, Georgia, I can get into that. I definitely like South Carolina being in there, because I think Columbia is a trip that Gator fans like taking, and there's a Spurrier connection to South Carolina, of course, and then obviously Georgia will always be there. So
yeah, and you kind of sit here and you look at it, because I know Gator fans' initial reaction is going to be like, "Hey, man, what? No Tennessee? Wait, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Here?
Well,
you never used to play Tennessee every year going back to the late 80s. You never used to play these teams every year. So
you're still going to play them. You're still going to play them.
You're still going to play them. So it's just going to be where there'll be 2-year hiatuses when it comes to these guys. Or, JC, who knows how they'll rotate it? Maybe they'll do, after you play your main 3, then you'll do 6 games with these 6 sets. And then the next year you'll do a new 6 set. So you play everybody every other year, no matter what. Well, that may be one of those situations. We don't know how they're going to lay out those other 6 opponents. But again, according to Sports Illustrated, with a 9-game schedule, Florida's permanent opponents will end up being Georgia, South Carolina, and Oklahoma every single year. So there we go.
I think 9 games is vital. I've always wanted 9 games. I mean, that to me takes away one game that probably we don't want to watch. And I think with 16 teams now, it's almost required. The only other alternative model would have been a 1-7. You would have had a 1 permanent opponent and then 7 rotators and just missed a bunch of teams. And to me, give me the 3-6. We're fine with that.
Yeah,
I am anyway.
Saban's upset.
Yeah. Well,
let's do Georgia first. I want to do Georgia first. Georgia's 3 permanent opponents, of course, Florida, Auburn, and Kentucky. Yeah. So Georgia's permanent opponents would be Florida, Auburn, and Kentucky.
Yeah, and Auburn and Georgia have the longest running rivalry in the league. That makes sense. And then, of course, Florida. So, they threw Kentucky in there. They could have thrown in Tennessee, but instead they went with Kentucky. Tennessee's going to have, obviously, Alabama and Vanderbilt. And then they threw in South Carolina for Tennessee's. Columbia, Knoxville, easy trip, whatever. It was a toss-up on how that was going to work. But really, when you think about Nick Saban, he's saying Alabama, he's not pleased with Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. Well, if it's because of how hard he may perceive that to be, we forget that they beat Tennessee something like 20 straight times before that fiasco last year. So I'm not worried about Tennessee. That's the rivalry that dates back to General Neyland and Bear Bryant and all that. So certainly they're going to keep them. Certainly they're going to keep Auburn. And, the LSU-Alabama game has been one of the most widely anticipated games of the last 15 years in this conference. They didn't want to ruin that either. So I don't really know what he's complaining about exactly. I don't know why that bothers him. These are all great rivalry games. These are games of huge interest. And again, Auburn's been miserable, and Tennessee was not competitive until Josh Heupel showed up. And only last year were they really that competitive because they had a quarterback. So, I mean, I don't know what he's so upset about. They should have won last year anyway. So.
Yeah, courtesy of Meldon Law here. Let's go to Facebook Live. Cliff, Tennessee should have been one of them. See, here's the problem. And Cliff, I get it from Florida's perspective, but you also have to look at it from everybody else's perspective too. Think about here comes Texas into the league, right? They're not breaking up Texas and Oklahoma. They're not going to break that up. Now that they're not going to get rid of Texas A&M. That's going to be one, right? Is that on there?
It has to be.
Yes,
it has to be. I mean, that is a rivalry that. Texas A&M, there was a word that Texas A&M was not going to vote for admission to these 2 schools early unless they were not on the schedule. And the SEC said, no, A&M, dude, you're playing Texas. You're going to play Texas. It is absolutely required. They hate each other so much. You want to talk about real vitriol between 2 schools, you go to Texas and talk about A&M and the Longhorns. It's worse than Oklahoma and Texas. Everybody doing this. But A&M has real fire for Texas. So that's good that they put them together. That made sense to me. and Texas needs to have Oklahoma on the schedule as well. So as far as I'm concerned, they did everything right. And plus, you bring back the old Texas-Arkansas rivalry from the Big Eight. So I think they got that right with Texas as well. Absolutely, they did. And you cannot break up A&M in Texas. That would make no sense at all. They have to
make everybody happy. The one, if you want to sit here, gang, and if you're upset about one of them, the one team that could kind of raise their hand and go, wait a second here, is Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn gets Alabama, Georgia, but they throw them a bone by giving them Vanderbilt.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So that's kind of how that worked. And poor Vandy, Vandy's Tennessee, Auburn, and Missouri. So, but again, as I try to tell everybody, when it comes to this, you have to balance it out as much as possible and keep your traditional rivalries. So what does Florida get to keep in terms of traditional rivalries? Well, they get to keep Georgia, right? And they have South Carolina. Now you could say, well, we wanted Tennessee. Well, Tennessee has rivalries that they consider more than Florida. What? South Carolina is a bigger rivalry for Tennessee. It is that program. Alabama, they took away Tennessee, Kentucky. You can't keep all of these rivalries, right?
That's a border war too.
Yeah, you can't keep all of them. So again, Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated tweeting out that the SEC looks to be going to 9 teams in terms of their conference, or at least their conference schedule, and Florida's main opponents will end up being Georgia, South Carolina, and Oklahoma.
Gator fans are going to love that. I don't care what you think about it today. When you see that red helmet coming in with the OU on the side, rolling through the swamp like that, it is a scene that you've never seen before. Why wouldn't you want that? I think it's great. It's going to be a fun trip to Norman every other year as a permanent opponent. You're going to enjoy going to that campus where Bob Stoops, who was coaching Florida's defense under Spurrier, ended up winning 1 national title at OU. You want to see that place, folks. You want to go there. It's an easy flight to Oklahoma City and then an easy 25-mile drive down to Norman. So I think it works out great for Florida. I think it's fine.
Let's see here. Cliff also wondering what's A&M have on the docket. A&M ends up with LSU, Texas, and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So again, now this hasn't been made official yet. This is just Ross Dellinger from Sports Illustrated saying, look, the league's got to approve the 9 first. The 9-game schedule, and once it approves, this is what's going to happen. And
3-6,
it's kind of one of these things where how do they determine this? Well, you have to go back through and look at rival. It's almost one of these things where it's like almost like an encryption code when they were breaking enigmas during World War II. Nazi enigmas on those U-boats is because they were looking for double consonants, right? And they knew that every single message ended with Heil Hitler, so they could determine the last set of letters by Heil Hitler, and then they could go back through and look at the Enigma code because they knew every message ended with Heil Hitler. I don't know why I came up with that reference, but that's how this works. So they go back through and they go, well, we know Texas has to play Texas A&M, and we know that Texas has to play Oklahoma. So after we know Florida's got to play Georgia, we know Alabama has to play Auburn. So once they set out these hardcore, almost oak tree rivalries, then they can go through and go, okay, well, they're not going to let Vanderbilt not play Tennessee. So they can go through and kind of figure all these out once you figure out the hardcore rivalries.
I mean, the thing is, Seth, I don't see anything that's missing. So, Mississippi's going to play Mississippi State. Great. Arkansas is going to play Mississippi. That's a huge rivalry from the day. Great. Okay. Everything there makes sense. Tennessee's going to play Vanderbilt, in-state rivalry. Texas A&M's going to play Texas. All this makes sense. Kentucky with State, Carolina, and Georgia. Okay, maybe they're missing a Tennessee game there, whatever. But this is just, listen, they're still going to play Tennessee. All right, it's just going to be rotating.
There we go. Again, the SEC schedules permanent opponents.
I like it.
3 and 9 through the rotations, and again, I like the fact that it's going to be different. It's going to be unique, and good that they're going to 9. I'd much rather see Florida play. Again, even in the rotation, I'd much rather see Florida play Mississippi or Mississippi State or Vanderbilt. Florida play North Texas or, USF or Come on,
I'm over those games. I'm over that. That doesn't get me anything. I think we've done our time with those games. Let's move on, and let's play teams that they should be playing. I mean, this is people pay a lot of money for this, Seth. You know this. Yeah. Folks don't want to go watch scrimmages. I'm sorry. Those days are over. Those days are over. They want to see real teams come in here. Mississippi State. When was the last damn time you saw Mississippi State in the swamp? Georgia has never been to Texas A&M, for God's sakes. So, and I know they were going to during COVID, but still, that was only one time since A&M's been in the league. It doesn't make sense. We got to go to 9. They're going to go to 9. They're going to do what's right, and it's going to be better. Listen, we got a 12-team playoff coming. These are things that are changing in college football right before our eyes, and I think it's about time.
JC, Seth Harp, Podup with Matthews in the morning with you here on this Monday. Brought to you in part by Comfort Temp. At Comfort Temp, comfort is their business. Peace of mind is the promise. Beat the summer heat. Going to be 88 today, baby, by the way. It's scheduling your air conditioner's tune-up, keeping you chill and the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Give them a call today. 352-376-2366. That's 352-376-2366. Cliff, they're going away with divisions. Yeah, they're going to get rid of the divisions. It's just going to be the top 2 teams when the schedule is all said and done. I don't know what the tiebreakers are going to be yet, gang. I don't know what any of that stuff. It's still too early on in the process here. But, yeah, the divisions are going away.
Yeah.
I know you and Shane we're talking a little bit about Gator basketball. The men closed strong, right? They beat, 2 of the bottom teams, but they're sitting there in the middle of the pack. What the win does against LSU, even if they get dumped in the first round of the SEC tournament, I think, JC, it not only guarantees them an NIT bid, it guarantees them a home game in the NIT, which, look, I know it's not what everybody wanted. Let
me ask you this. Would you rather, how about this? Would you rather go to the NCAA tournament and get dumped in the first game by, say, I don't know, NC State? Or would you rather, and I know this is an honest question, would you rather do that? Or would you rather play in the NIT against somebody from the ACC down here on the home court, like Wake Forest? What would be better? So I don't know. Those are questions, the competitive Gator fans say, no, I want to play in the NCAA tournament as a 12 seed. Yeah. What are you going to go? I mean, I guess they could beat a 5. I don't know. But Seth, I'm with you. Listen, they're going to play Mississippi State in the second round. It's their first game, and the winner gets to play Alabama. That'll be the end of both of those teams, and we'll see where they go from here. But like you said, NIT is not the end of the world, folks. It's okay.
And they get a home game. They may even get 2 home games, depending on where they are on that seeding line, right? If they're a 2 seed, they get multiple home games. Look, and this is just the truth in what you just brought up here. Where this program is, it's better for them to go to the NIT. It is. It's better because they could end up playing 3 or 4 games and get to New York. Now, look, the NIT used to be special. Once you added I don't think going to the CBI or the CTI or whatever those other ones are, I don't think that does you any good. There's where you end up against the 3rd or 4th best team from mid-major conferences, and I think losing to Toledo does you no good if you're Florida in that point, or a school like that. So I again, I take a step back and say, okay, where Todd Golden is, how they close, the fact that they finished 500 in the SEC. It was an up and down year, but what it did is he laid the base work. He's got one of the best young players in the conference, right? So he's in decent shape. Not gonna say great shape, but he's in decent shape going forward. So there we go on that.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're going to make comparisons, would you be happier with what Mike White's done at Georgia, who's been blown out in their last 6 games, who's basically just trashed the rest of the season? I mean, they looked horrible as down the stretch here at Georgia. I don't know. Are they really thrilled about him? Or do you have at least some hope with a guy who got to 500 in the league, okay, is playing Mississippi State, who they finished in front of, who they also beat on the road in Starkville, and who was playing without their best player, Colin Castleton, and playing hard for them. I don't know. I just think you can be optimistic about this in spite of the way the year's gone. And I'm okay with it. I don't want to, I don't want to make it sound too bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah, from where they were in a first-year head coach, they could be worse. You could have been the preseason number 1 like North Carolina and not even make the tournament, right? Yeah. See, it's the most losses ever for a preseason number 1.
Yeah. Oh, they've completely fallen apart. I mean, who knows? Maybe North Carolina and Florida play in New York City. Now, You tell me, would that be better in 2 weeks, or would it be better sitting on your ass at home watching everyone else play in the SEC because you lost in the first round to Kansas State again? I don't need to see that. So I'm for it. Look, it could happen. I don't think anybody would complain about that. Seth, real quick, did you have a chance at all to go out to the ballpark this weekend?
No, I was busy training students on how to produce the games, but I consumed them all, of course, because you're sitting there behind the scenes running everything. And and this team now is what? What are they? 11-3?
They're 10-3, 10-3, ranked 6th, or maybe 11-3. I don't know, but they've only lost 3 times. But what they did over the weekend with the bats, man, it got me interested. I'll say that.
It's funny because I said this on Friday on the show. Was it Thursday or Friday? That I hope, this school, the athletic department, you have the opportunity of a generational ball player in Jack Caglion. You do. You have these guys don't grow on trees. I mean, this is a guy that will probably be the number 1 pick in the draft, but we're not there yet, right? So you're going to get to enjoy him for a while. I'd love to see something down the right field line on that berm called like Jack's Pack, and just only let students out there, let it become a raucous event, let it become a party out there on that right field berm. They can bow to him, do a bunch of cool things. Because what's the thing, and this is, I just bring this up as an example. You have the most exciting player in all of college baseball. When he walks up to the plate, let's see, 6'5", 200. I mean, he's built like an NFL tight end. He looks like Rob Gronkowski playing baseball. Actually, who he looks like is A-Rod at first base, is who he looks like with his stature. I know he's a lefty as opposed to a righty. But you have a generational guy. And we talk about like the atmosphere at Mississippi State, don't we? JC's like, oh, it's electric. They're out there and they're doing all their cool stuff. Oh my gosh, look at Mississippi. Why can't we capture that? Well, then do it. Create something special for Jack Caglion out there in right field. Again, Jack, do it. Come on.
I'm telling you, it's you're right. And, in terms of the entertainment value, we finally saw some real crowds. They had a record for the weekend, almost 23,000. That's great. That's progress. It's where they need to be. Yeah. It's where it's taken too long to get here to begin with. But now that they're here, let's make it what it should be. And I think everybody was happy that went out there. I know what you're saying, a left field lounge scenario type thing, at LSU, at Ole Miss, or Arkansas. Well, Florida can develop whatever home field advantage, however they want to create it on their own. I love the berm. It's awesome. It's fun. When you see balls flying out of the park, it makes you want to go back. Yes. And, and that's the thing. These balls were flying out of the park, and it makes you want to go back. They're a very aggressive team at the plate. That's what's got me talking about them now. And, Wyatt Langford is probably my favorite player because he just gets up there, and I almost expect the ball to go out now. It's just great to watch, dude. I tell you, I haven't been that excited about him here the last couple of years, but this is the first time I'm on board really hardcore for the Gator baseball team because I want them to do well. I want to see something go deep into May and into June. And somebody was tweeting us or texting us, Shannon and I, before you came on, Seth, how they're not going to get past the regional. I made the bet right there. Whatever he wants, as much as he wants, that they will get past the regional into a super regional. So I'm whatever you got, dude. You can bet as much as you want. You can bet everything you own. Yeah. I will bet you that they will get past the regional.
I without knowing who their opponents are going to be. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, again, I joke about this too. It's people that do NFL season predictions before the draft, right? We're gonna go 11-6. You don't even know who your quarterback's going to be yet.
I know. Well, maybe I'm going a little bit overboard with this because they beat Miami 2 out of 3. But I gotta say something good, right?
No, and if you're betting on the number 6 ranked team in the country to get beat in the regional, I'm looking from whoever this person is. If you're betting on the number 6 team in America to get beat in a regional, I'd like to know who my opponents are playing that number 6 team. But fine, go ahead and bet against them.
Well, in all likelihood, you're going to be playing it at home, and you're going to be sending balls out into the parking lot. I'll take my chances with that team. Okay.
Podup with Matthews in the morning is a service of QC Kinetics. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back,
FSU fan.
Yeah, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, locations in Ocala and now open in Gainesville.
I'll be down there.
Well, okay. I know you guys talked a little bit, but I want to put a bow on this with Anthony Richardson.
Okay.
vertical jump 40 time, all those, the athleticism is not a question. We know the athleticism.
No.
There are some things in the combine, as great as he did with all the intangibles. He did struggle with like the 15-yard out passes. He did struggle with those a little bit. He was underthrowing them. And let's face it, the NFL, you underthrow a 15-yard out, that's 6 the other way, right? So there's some things to work on. But the primary function of this is not only like the bench press and all that. I get it. It's more important for offensive linemen, I guess, than it is for quarterbacks. They want to see the strength of your arm, which matters. They want to see your strength of your arm. And I think the thing that people forget about the combine are the interviews that take place that you don't get to see, where the coaches and organizations get to sit down with you individually as a player and talk to you. They get your medical report. They get to look at those things. So the thing that's made for TV in the combine is one thing. The thing that's made for the behind the scenes thing is something totally different. I don't know. I think you can hurt yourself with this thing more than you can help yourself. All I think is what happens is people love quarterbacks. They fall in love with them anyway. Well, what it did to me, JC, is it cemented him. It cemented him as a top 10 pick. I think he's going to go in the top 10. I mean, he's going to be number 1 overall.
No, I don't see him going number 1 overall, but I guess you're right. I mean, people are enamored with is what I said in the first segment was that, listen, if he was trying out for the Summer Olympics, United States Summer Olympics team, he'd be there. But to me, it's getting the ball in the end zone. We're talking about a guy that had almost not quite 400 passing attempts in 3 years. All right. I haven't seen enough. We've got guys like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young who threw 400 times in less than one season. So to me, the simple thing about being a quarterback is getting the ball in the end zone. Can you do that? And against LSU, he did. At some point against Florida State, I guess he kind of did. But there were a lot of misfires. And in this league, dude, there is no mercy in the NFL. So until we see that guy Anthony, get the ball in the end zone, be efficient, be good with his timing, good with his accuracy, make mental decisions quickly, even maybe throwing out of the pocket. I got to see it first. And if you're going to draft somebody like that and use your first-round draft capital as a GM, you better have job security because people don't like their first-round draft picks being busts. So we'll see. Yeah, athletically speaking, he's checks all the boxes, but that's not what quarterback to me is all about. It's some of that, but not all.
There's also, at least the thought process, at least for where I am with him, and certain things that he needs to develop on because of his skill set. The best situation for him is like a Seattle, where he can be behind somebody, a Detroit, where he can be behind Jared Goff, just for a year or two, where he can sit back like Patrick Mahomes did and soak some things in. It looks like Kyle Trask ended up doing that for 2 years with Tom Brady, and now they're ready to hand the keys over to him. I think if you put Anthony Richardson like in Carolina and make him the starter from week 1, there's where I'm like, a little cause for concern. I know the Steelers wanted Pickett to sit the whole year, but after like 5 or 6 weeks, they're like, okay, we got to try this out. And it ended up working. So there's certain situations like that. I know the Jaguars didn't want Blake Bortles to play the whole year, but after a month, okay, here he goes, and it ended up hindering his progress. So it's going to be one of these interesting things that we talk about for the next 6 weeks. And now becomes that time where you have individual pro days and all of those things. But what happened, I thought not only Anthony Richardson, but I thought the Gator players did well in the combine with it. Yeah. They didn't embarrass themselves, and no, going to embarrass themselves, but they were in the top echelon of speed, agility, all those things. But the most important thing when it comes to these are the interviews with the coaches and GMs behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, what if he goes to a place like Atlanta? I don't know if that'll be good or not. I mean, he's got Kyle Pitts there. Okay, great. But who's going to be coaching you? And Atlanta's one of those teams that needs a quarterback, right? So they may just get him. They just may pick him up, and the city can rise up. But I don't know. I'm more.
I saw. How about this? I said this. I think this is a disaster if it happens. There's a story on CBS Sports that the Giants love him.
Well, they're having problems with Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones wants to own the island of Manhattan to re-sign with the Giants. He wants to own the entire island. He wants all 8 by 4 miles. He wants every building. He wants every bridge. He wants every subway tunnel to be in his name titled under Daniel Jones to play for the Giants. So I don't know, what he's thinking.
So if they franchise him, it's $34 million.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But think about that. If they franchise him and then draft Anthony Richardson,
yeah, it's a 1-year deal. Franchise is 1-year deal.
Let that fun begin. Let that fun begin. All right, there we go, baby. Good Monday. Week started off on the right note. So, JC, as always, man, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, bud.
You pulled the whole hour today. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Enjoy your Monday. Really quick, everybody, we will carry Bama. We will carry Gators basketball, Mississippi State, pregame coverage